Captain Sarah Chun stared at the official document displayed on her command screen, reading the same devastating words for the 10th time in an hour. The galactic script glowed with cold finality against the dark metal of her ship's bridge. Every human vessel in known space had received an identical message 12 hours ago. By order of the Cosmic Authority Council, all human vessels and colonies are hereby expelled from civilized space. Humans are deemed too dangerous for continued coexistence with peaceful galactic citizens. You have 72 standard hours to vacate all systems under Authority jurisdiction. Any human presence after this deadline will be met with military action. Sarah's fingers drummed against her captain's chair as she watched the countdown timer in the corner of her screen. 60 hours remained. Around her, the bridge crew of the merchant vessel Persistence worked with quiet efficiency, their faces bearing the same mixture of anger and disbelief that had settled over every human in the galaxy. "Captain, incoming transmission from Admiral Torres aboard the Defiant," reported Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb from the communication station. His voice carried none of its usual warmth. "Put him through, Marcus." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the weathered face of Admiral Richard Torres. The man who had spent 30 years building diplomatic relationships with alien species now looked like he had aged a decade overnight. "Sarah, good to see you're still in one piece," Torres said, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "I'm gathering all available ships at the Kepler Station rendezvous point. We need to coordinate our evacuation before things get worse. Worse than being kicked out of our homes." Sarah asked, though she knew the answer. "Much worse. The Authority isn't just expelling us. They're painting us as a galactic threat. Every species that signed the Authority Charter is now viewing humans as dangerous predators. Trade agreements are void, diplomatic immunity revoked, and, worst of all, there's talk of a shoot-on-sight order if we don't comply with the timeline." Sarah felt her jaw tighten. "What triggered this, Admiral?" "Last week we were celebrating the opening of 3 new trade routes. Now we're galactic pariahs." Torres rubbed his temples, looking every one of his 63 years. The Valdari incident. When Captain Rodriguez defended that civilian transport from raiders, he used tactics the Authority deemed excessively violent. Apparently, the fact that he eliminated a dozen raider ships to save 300 civilians makes us unstable aggressors. The irony burned in Sarah's chest. Rodriguez had followed standard human protocol, prioritizing the rescue of innocent lives over minimizing enemy casualties. In any human military doctrine, his actions would have earned him a medal. To the galactic community, it marked humanity as savage. "There's more," Torres continued. "Intelligence reports suggest this isn't random. The hegemony has been lobbying against human expansion for months. They've convinced the Council that our Death World origins make us inherently violent." Sarah's science officer, Dr. Elena Vasquez, looked up from her station. "Captain, I've been monitoring Authority communications. They're not just concerned about our military capabilities. They're terrified of our adaptability." "Explain," Sarah ordered. Elena pulled up a holographic display showing human settlements across known space. In the past 50 years, humans have established successful colonies on 37 different world types. Volcanoplanets, ice worlds, high-radiation environments, even gas giant mining stations. Most species can only survive on worlds similar to their homeworld. We thrive anywhere. They see us as an invasive species, Torres said grimly. Something that will eventually crowd them out of their own territories. The bridge fell silent except for the steady hum of ship systems. Sarah processed this information, her mind racing through implications and possibilities. Humanity hadn't sought conflict with the galactic community. They had joined the Cosmic Authority with genuine hopes of peaceful coexistence and mutual benefit. "Admiral, what's our current fleet strength?" Sarah asked. "Scattered across 47 systems, but we're looking at roughly 1,200 vessels of various classes. Military ships, merchant marines, research vessels, colony transports. The evacuation is going to be a logistical nightmare." Sarah pulled up her ship's manifest. The Persistence was a mid-sized cargo vessel, but her crew had military training. Most merchant captains maintained at least basic combat certifications, a necessity when operating in frontier regions where pirates and raiders pose constant threats. "Sir, there's something else you need to know," Marcus interrupted from his station. "I've been monitoring communications from human colonies. Not all of them are complying with the evacuation order." Torres leaned forward. "Which ones?" "New Geneva is refusing to abandon their settlements. Captain Williams of the mining station Prometheus says his crew won't be driven from the asteroid field they've spent 8 years developing. And there are at least a dozen research outposts that claim they can evacuate their long-term experiments without losing years of critical data." Sarah understood their positions. Humans didn't abandon their homes easily. The psychological makeup that allowed them to colonize hostile worlds also made them fiercely protective of what they built. "Admiral, what about the neutral zones?" Dr. Vasquez asked. "Technically, those regions aren't under authority jurisdiction. The neutral zones are barely habitable," Torres replied. "Most are unstable systems, uncharted regions, or areas too dangerous for standard colonization efforts. We'd be looking at a frontier existence with minimal infrastructure support. But we'd be free," Sarah said quietly. Torres nodded slowly. "Free but isolated, cut off from galactic trade networks, scientific exchanges, cultural connections. We'd essentially be starting over." Sarah's tactical officer, Lieutenant James Park, spoke up from his station. "Captain, I've been running simulations based on our current resources and the available neutral territories. It's challenging, but not impossible. Human colonies have survived worse conditions." "Show me," Sarah ordered. The main screen displayed a three-dimensional map of local space. Human settlements glowed in blue, while authority territories showed in amber. The neutral zones appeared as gray sectors scattered throughout the region. "These 3 zones offer the best potential," Park explained, highlighting areas with his laser pointer. "The Frontier Reach has several habitable worlds, but dangerous stellar phenomena. The Void Sector contains resource-rich systems, but minimal infrastructure. And the Wild Expanse is completely uncharted, but shows promising sensor readings." Torres studied the display carefully. Each of those regions has been avoided by authority species for good reason. The Frontier Reach has solar storms that can disable ships without proper shielding. The Void Sector is infamous for spatial anomalies that have claimed dozens of vessels. And nobody knows what's in the Wild Expanse because few exploration missions have returned with data. "Sounds perfect for humans," Sarah said with dark humor. "We specialize in making homes in places nobody else wants." Her comment drew tired chuckles from the bridge crew. It was true that human adaptability often led them to settle in regions other species considered uninhabitable. "Captain," Dr. Vasquez said, pulling up additional data, "there's another factor to consider. If we relocate to neutral zones, we'll be completely dependent on our own resources and ingenuity. No authority support systems, no established trade networks, no diplomatic protection. But also no authority restrictions," Sarah countered. "We could develop our colonies according to human principles instead of conforming to galactic standards that don't suit our nature." Torres looked thoughtful. "There's merit to that perspective. Human innovation has always flourished when we've had the freedom to find our own solutions to problems." Lieutenant Park highlighted another section of his analysis. "Admiral, I should mention that several non-authority species have been monitoring these communications. The Karathi, the Free Traders Consortium, and the Independent Mining Guild have all expressed interest in maintaining relationships with human settlements, regardless of authority sanctions." "Black market connections," Torres mused. "Not ideal, but it would provide some external trade opportunities." Sarah felt a spark of hope. Humanity wouldn't be completely isolated if they could maintain relationships with independent species and organizations. The galaxy was vast, and the cosmic authority, despite its influence, didn't control every inhabited system. "There's one more consideration," Dr. Vasquez added. "Long-term genetic diversity. If we become too isolated, our population could face serious challenges within a few generations. Not necessarily, Torres replied. Human settlements are scattered across dozens of systems. Even if we relocate to neutral zones, we'd maintain contact between our own colonies. And there are always possibilities for future diplomatic rehabilitation with authority species. Sarah watched the countdown timer tick away another minute. 59 hours remained before the deadline, but she was beginning to see this crisis not just as an ending, but as a potential beginning. Admiral, what if we turn this exile into an opportunity? She asked. Instead of viewing ourselves as refugees, what if we approach this as pioneers? We could establish truly independent human territories, develop our own technologies without authority oversight, and prove that we don't need their approval to thrive. Torres raised an eyebrow. That's a dangerous line of thinking, Captain. It could lead to permanent separation from galactic civilization. Or it could lead to humans becoming strong enough that galactic civilization has to respect us as equals rather than treating us as dangerous children, Sarah countered. The bridge crew exchanged glances. There was something appealing about the idea of building something purely human, something that reflected their values and capabilities without compromise. The neutral zones would test every aspect of human ingenuity, Park noted. We need to develop new technologies for survival, create sustainable economies without external support, and establish effective governance systems for multiple independent colonies. We've done it before, Sarah said firmly. Every human settlement started with pioneers who refused to accept that something was impossible. Torres smiled for the first time since the conversation began. You're talking about turning exile into expansion. Instead of being driven out, we choose to leave and build something better. Exactly. And when we succeed, when we establish thriving independent territories that other species want to trade with and learn from, the authority will have to reconsider their position. Dr. Vasquez nodded slowly. It would require unprecedented cooperation between human settlements and careful resource management. But the genetic and technological diversity of our colonies could actually be an advantage. Captain, incoming priority message, Marcus announced. It's from the colony ship New Horizon. They're requesting permission to alter course toward the frontier reach instead of evacuating to authority space. Sarah looked at Torres, who gave her a slight nod. Tell Captain Morrison he has permission to explore alternative destinations, Sarah ordered. And, Marcus, open a channel to all human vessels in this sector. It's time to discuss our real options. As the communications array activated, Sarah felt a shift in the atmosphere of her bridge. The defeat and anger of the past 12 hours was transforming into something else, determination. Humans had always been at their best when facing impossible odds and unlimited possibilities. The countdown timer showed 58 hours remaining, but Sarah was no longer watching it with dread. Instead, she was calculating how much time they had to coordinate the greatest human migration in history. Not a retreat, but an advance into territories that would test everything humanity had learned about survival, adaptation, and achievement. The Cosmic Authority had expelled them from civilized space, believing they were removing a dangerous element. They had no idea they were about to unleash humanity's greatest adventure. 3 years after the Great Exodus, Captain Sarah Chun stood on the observation deck of Haven Station, watching cargo ships dock with supplies from 7 different human colonies. The massive orbital platform had been built from salvaged authority technology and human innovation, creating something that neither culture could have achieved alone. Captain, the Karathi trade delegation is requesting permission to come aboard, announced Commander Webb, now serving as Haven's operations chief. His voice carried satisfaction that had been absent during those dark days of evacuation. Grant them docking bay 7, Sarah replied, still watching the steady flow of ships. And, Marcus, make sure they see our new defensive platforms. I want them to understand they're dealing with serious partners, not desperate refugees. The past 3 years had transformed everything. What began as a forced exile had evolved into humanity's most successful expansion period in history. The neutral zones, once considered uninhabitable wastelands, now hosted thriving human settlements that had attracted attention from across the galaxy. Sarah walked through Haven's main corridor, passing viewports that showed the frontier reach in all its dangerous beauty. Solar storms painted the space around the station in brilliant auroras, but human-designed electromagnetic shielding kept everyone safe inside. The technology they had developed here was already being purchased by species throughout the galaxy. Status report from New Geneva? Sarah asked as she entered the command center. Dr. Vasquez, now Haven's chief science officer, looked up from her displays with obvious excitement. Their mining operations are exceeding all projections. They've developed extraction techniques that work in gravitational anomalies, and 3 different species have submitted purchase orders for the technology. And the agricultural settlements. Phoenix Colony just announced their 4th successful harvest from irradiated soil. The Valdari are particularly interested in their radiation-resistant crop strains. Elinapozad Smiling. The irony is beautiful. The same species that lobbied for our expulsion are now buying our innovations. Sarah nodded with satisfaction. Human adaptability, once seen as threatening, had become their greatest economic asset. Colonies that survived in impossible conditions developed solutions that other species desperately needed. Ma'am, incoming transmission from Admiral Torres, Marcus announced. He's aboard the Defiant, approaching from the wild expanse. The main screen activated, revealing Torres in his captain's chair. Behind him, Sarah could see crew members working with focused intensity. The Admiral looked younger than he had 3 years ago, energized by the challenges of frontier leadership. Sarah, excellent work with the Karathi negotiations, Torres said without preamble. Their mining guild is offering exclusive partnerships with our asteroid operations. How did exploration go in the expanse? Sarah asked. Torres's expression shifted to barely contained excitement. We found something extraordinary. 3 habitable systems with resources unlike anything in Authority space. And, Sarah, we're not alone out here. Hostile contact. Quite the opposite. We encountered the Forgotten. Sarah felt her breath catch. The Forgotten were legendary, an ancient civilization that had supposedly withdrawn from galactic affairs millennia ago. Most species consider them mythical. They're real, and they've been watching human expansion with great interest, Torres continued. Their representative wants to meet with our leadership council. Sarah's mind raced through implications. Contact with a pre-authority civilization could change everything about humanity's position in the galaxy. When and where? Tomorrow, aboard Haven Station. Sarah, they specifically requested to meet with you. Apparently, our reputation for adaptability has reached even the Forgotten. After the transmission ended, Sarah found herself staring out at the stellar phenomena that surrounded their station. The frontier reach challenged every ship that entered its borders, but humans had learned to navigate its dangers and harness its energy. Now, they were being recognized by beings who predated galactic civilization itself. Captain, the Karathi delegation has arrived, Webb reported. Ambassador Thek is requesting immediate audience. Sarah made her way to the diplomatic quarters, where she found Thek, a tall reptilian being with crystalline scales, waiting with obvious impatience. The Karathi had been among the first species to break authority sanctions against human trade. Captain Chun, Thek said, his translator rendering his words in perfectly modulated English. My trade council has authorized unprecedented partnerships with human colonies. We offer exclusive mining rights in Karathi space in exchange for your gravitational extraction technologies. That's generous, Sarah replied carefully. But I'm curious about your timing. 3 years ago, the Karathi supported authority sanctions. Thek's scales shifted color slightly, indicating embarrassment. 3 years ago, we believed authority propaganda about human aggression. We have since observed human colonies helping refugee ships, sharing medical supplies with species in distress, and developing technologies that benefit everyone. Your actions speak louder than their accusations. Sarah felt a surge of pride. Human colonies had indeed maintained their humanitarian principles despite being labeled as galactic threats. There is more, Thek continued. Authority species are beginning to question the expulsion decision. Human innovations have created markets that didn't exist before. Your absence is being felt economically. Are you suggesting the Authority wants us back? I'm suggesting that some Authority members are realizing they made a costly mistake. But, Captain, there are also those who view human success as validation of their fears. They argue that independent human territories prove humans are too ambitious for peaceful coexistence. Sarah considered this carefully. Success was creating its own diplomatic challenges. Ambassador, what is the Karathi position if tensions escalate? The Karathi Trade Confederation recognizes human sovereignty in neutral territories, Thek stated formally. We will defend established trade relationships regardless of Authority pressure. After the meeting, Sarah convened her senior staff in the station's conference room. The space was deliberately designed to impress visitors, with viewports showing the controlled chaos of the frontier reach and displays highlighting human achievements across neutral space. The situation is evolving rapidly, Sarah told her assembled officers. We have potential first contact with the Forgotten, increasing trade partnerships with independent species, and growing political pressure on the Authority. Dr. Vasquez activated a holographic display showing human settlements throughout neutral space. Our expansion has exceeded every projection. 23 major colonies, 47 mining operations, 12 research stations, and 15 agricultural settlements. Total population approaching 8 million. Military capabilities? Asked Lieutenant Colonel Janet Morrison, Haven's security chief. Defensive platforms protecting every major settlement, plus our mobile fleet, Morrison replied. More importantly, we've developed weapons and tactics specifically adapted to neutral zone conditions. Any Authority forces entering our territories would face significant disadvantages. Sarah studied the strategic overview. Human settlements were no longer isolated outposts, but components of an interconnected civilization capable of defending itself. Economic status? Completely self-sufficient with growing surpluses, reported Chief Financial Officer David Kim. Our innovations are generating significant export income, and trade relationships with independent species are expanding monthly. Sarah felt satisfaction mixed with concern. Success was wonderful, but it was also making humans increasingly visible to forces that might view their growth as threatening. Ma'am, priority transmission from Prometheus Mining Station, Marcus announced. Captain Williams reports Authority vessels approaching his position. The main screen activated, showing Captain Williams in his cramped command center. Behind him, Sarah could see his crew working frantically at their stations. Haven Station, I've got 4 Authority cruisers demanding inspection of our operations, Williams reported tersely. They claim we're violating territorial boundaries. Sarah felt her jaw tighten. Prometheus Station operated in the Void Sector, well outside Authority jurisdiction. Are they making direct threats? Not yet, but their weapons are powered. Sarah, they're claiming our mining operations are destabilizing local space and pose a threat to Authority shipping lanes. Which is ridiculous, Dr. Vasquez interjected. Prometheus operates in a region Authority species avoid precisely because of its natural instability. Sarah made her decision quickly. Marcus, open a channel to all human vessels in this sector. Williams, hold your position and do not power weapons. Help is on the way. The next few hours tested every system they had developed for mutual defense. Human ships converged on Prometheus Station from 3 different colonies, arriving in coordinated formations that demonstrated sophisticated tactical planning. Sarah watched from Haven's command center as the confrontation unfolded. The Authority vessels found themselves facing a human fleet that was smaller in numbers but operating in an environment they understood perfectly. Authority Commander is requesting negotiation, Marcus reported. Put him through. The screen showed Commander Valex of the Authority Navy, a hegemony officer whose species had originally lobbied for human expulsion. Captain Shun, your vessels are interfering with legitimate Authority operations, Valex stated coldly. Commander, you are operating in neutral space without jurisdiction, Sarah replied evenly. Our vessels are protecting legitimate mining operations. Human expansion threatens galactic stability, Valex continued. Your aggressive colonization must be contained. Sarah felt anger rising, but kept her voice steady. Commander, human colonies have provided humanitarian aid to 17 different species in the past year alone. We've shared medical technologies, rescued stranded vessels, and established trade relationships that benefit everyone involved. How exactly does that threaten stability? Valex's expression showed uncertainty. Clearly, the official narrative about human aggression didn't match observed reality. You have militarized neutral territories, he tried. We have established defensive capabilities in our own sovereign space, Sarah corrected. The same right claimed by every Authority member species. The standoff continued for several tense hours, with neither side willing to initiate hostilities. Finally, Valex received new orders and withdrew his ships, but not before warning that the Authority was monitoring human activities closely. Sarah felt exhaustion as the immediate crisis passed, but also a sense of vindication. Human forces had demonstrated both capability and restraint, defending their territory without escalating to violence. Captain, analysis of the encounter, Morrison reported. Authority forces were testing our responses and capabilities. They're gathering intelligence for future operations. Recommendations: accelerate defensive preparations and strengthen alliances with independent species. This won't be the last test. Sarah nodded grimly. Success was making humans increasingly valuable as partners and increasingly threatening as competitors. Ma'am, the forgotten representative has arrived early, Marcus announced. They're requesting immediate meeting. Sarah felt anticipation mixed with apprehension. First contact with a pre-Authority civilization could change everything about humanity's future in the galaxy. The meeting could establish powerful new alliances or create dangerous new complications. As she prepared to meet beings whose civilization predated galactic history, Sarah reflected on how completely the situation had transformed. 3 years ago, humans had been expelled refugees facing an uncertain future. Now, there were rising powers whose decisions could influence the balance of galactic politics. The Forgotten had watched human adaptation to impossible conditions and chosen to make contact. That choice suggested they saw something in humanity worth cultivating, but Sarah wondered if they also saw something worth controlling. Tomorrow would bring answers that could determine whether human independence remained sustainable or whether success itself would provoke the conflicts they had worked so hard to avoid. The being that materialized in Haven Station's main conference room defied every expectation Sarah had formed about the Forgotten. Rather than ancient and mysterious, the entity appeared as a shifting pattern of crystalline light that occasionally took humanoid form, but seemed more comfortable as pure energy. I am Caretaker Luminose. The being communicated directly into their minds, bypassing spoken language entirely. I represent those who withdrew from galactic affairs when primitive species began forming their first crude alliances. Admiral Torres sat beside Sarah at the curved conference table, while Dr. Vasquez recorded everything with specialized equipment designed to capture energy-based communications. Around the room, holographic displays showed the current state of human civilization in neutral space. Caretaker, we're honored by your contact, Sarah said carefully. But we're curious about your timing. Why approach humanity now? The energy pattern shifted, taking on colors that somehow conveyed amusement. Because you have accomplished something remarkable. In 3 years, You have transformed forced exile into voluntary evolution. Your species has demonstrated the rarest quality in the galaxy, the ability to thrive through adaptation rather than domination. Torres leaned forward. You've been observing human colonies? We observe everything, Luminos replied. When the Authority expelled you, we expected either extinction or militaristic expansion. Instead, you established sustainable colonies, developed beneficial technologies, and maintained cooperative relationships with multiple species. This pattern interests us greatly. Sarah felt both pride and caution. Praise from ancient beings carried implications she didn't fully understand. What exactly interests you about human behavior? She asked. The crystalline form solidified slightly, taking on a more defined humanoid appearance. Your species possesses qualities that once characterized the Forgotten before we achieve transcendence. You adapt rather than terraform environments to match your preferences. You innovate solutions instead of forcing conformity. Most importantly, you maintain individual initiative while achieving collective goals. Dr. Vasquez looked up from her instruments. Are you suggesting humans are similar to your species in its earlier development? More than similar, Luminos confirmed. Humans may be the first species since the Forgotten to demonstrate the potential for true evolutionary advancement rather than mere technological sophistication. Sarah exchanged glances with Torres. This was bigger than simple first contact. Caretaker, what do you mean by evolutionary advancement? Most species reach a plateau where they develop impressive technologies, but never transcend their basic nature. They remain bound by territorial instincts, resource competition, and hierarchical thinking. The Forgotten learned to overcome these limitations, but we believe the opportunity was unique to our biology and circumstances. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Forgotten weren't just offering contact. They were suggesting humans had the potential to join them as an advanced civilization. However, Luminos continued, this potential creates a dilemma. The Authority has noticed human success and is preparing more aggressive responses. Some members advocate for military action to prevent human expansion. Others propose forced reintegration under strict Authority control. Torres straightened. Do you have specific intelligence about Authority plans? The hegemony is lobbying for a preemptive strike against human colonies while they remain relatively vulnerable. They argue that waiting allows humans to become too powerful to control. The Valdari and Centaurian factions oppose this, preferring diplomatic solutions. Sarah felt cold certainty settling in her chest. When Authority Council meetings begin in 7 standard days. Decisions made there will determine whether humans face another 3 years of peaceful development or immediate military action. Dr. Vasquez pulled up strategic displays. Caretaker, with respect, why are you sharing this information? What do the Forgotten gain from human survival? The energy beings seemed to consider the question carefully. The Forgotten have observed galactic civilization for millennia. We have seen countless species rise and fall, but never one that showed genuine potential for transcendent development. If humans achieve true advancement, you could become suitable companions for entities like ourselves. And if we don't, Sarah asked, then you join the archives as another promising species that couldn't overcome the challenges of growth. The stark honesty was somehow more reassuring than elaborate promises would have been. Caretaker, are you offering assistance against Authority military action? Torres asked. Direct intervention would compromise the authenticity of human development, Luminos replied. However, we can provide certain resources that might prove useful. The being gestured, and 3 objects appeared on the conference table. The first looked like a crystalline data storage device. The second resembled a complex energy matrix, and the third was a metallic sphere covered in intricate patterns. The first contains technological specifications that could advance human defensive capabilities significantly. The second provides access to energy manipulation techniques that could revolutionize your industrial capacity. The third establishes a communication link that allows direct contact with forgotten observers throughout the galaxy. Sarah stared at the objects, understanding their significance. With these resources, human colonies could become virtually impregnable against authority attack. "What's the price?" she asked. "Continued demonstration that humans deserve these advantages," Luminose replied. "Use them wisely, maintain your cooperative principles, and prove that advancement doesn't require abandoning the qualities that made you valuable." Torres picked up the communication device, feeling its strange weight. Will other Forgotten support human development? There is debate among us, Luminose admitted. Some believe humans are too young for such rapid advancement. Others worry that external assistance might corrupt your natural development pattern. I represent the faction that believes humans have already proven their worthiness through 3 years of successful adaptation. Dr. Vasquez was scanning the technological device with her instruments. The energy readings are extraordinary. This could advance human technology by centuries in a matter of months. Use it carefully, Luminose warned. Rapid technological advancement, without corresponding cultural evolution, has destroyed many promising species. Sarah made her decision. "We accept your gifts, caretaker, with the understanding that they come with responsibilities we might not fully comprehend yet. Understanding will develop through experience," Luminose replied. "The immediate priority is surviving authority military action while maintaining the cooperative principles that distinguish humans from typical expansionist species." The energy being began to fade. "I will monitor human progress. If you successfully navigate the coming crisis while preserving your essential nature, further assistance will be provided." After Luminose vanished, the 3 objects remained on the table like alien artifacts from an advanced future. "This changes everything," Torres said quietly. Sarah activated her command interface. "Marcus, emergency priority to all human settlements. Council leaders to convene virtually within 6 hours. We have major developments to discuss." The next 6 hours transformed into the most intensive planning session in human history. Colony leaders, military commanders, scientists, and civilian administrators connected from across neutral space to address the crisis. On the main conference screen, faces from dozens of human settlements reflected determination mixed with concern. Sarah recognized Captain Williams from Prometheus Station, Dr. Martinez from Phoenix Colony, Commander Singh from the Void Research Platform, and many others who had turned exile into opportunity. "The situation is clear," Sarah told the assembled leaders. "We have 7 days before Authority Council decisions that could lead to military action against our colonies. However, we also have new resources that could change the balance significantly." Dr. Vasquez presented analysis of the forgotten technologies. The defensive specifications could create shield systems that make our colonies nearly invulnerable to conventional attack. The energy manipulation techniques could power industrial development beyond anything we've achieved. But implementing these technologies rapidly will require unprecedented cooperation between settlements. Captain Williams spoke from Prometheus Station. "What about the political implications? If we deploy obviously advanced technologies, won't that confirm authority fears about human ambitions?" "Valid concern," Torres replied. "But if we face military attack without adequate defenses, the question becomes academic." Commander Singh raised another issue. "Integration of forgotten technologies will require resource sharing between colonies. Some settlements are better positioned to contribute materials. Others have necessary expertise. We're talking about economic integration on a scale we've never attempted." Sarah had anticipated this challenge. "I'm proposing formal establishment of a human colonial alliance. Not a government, but a mutual defense and development pact that allows resource sharing while preserving individual colony autonomy." The discussion continued for hours as leaders addressed technical challenges, resource allocation, and defensive strategies. Gradually, consensus emerged around a comprehensive response plan. Dr. Martinez from Phoenix Colony summarized the agricultural settlement's position. "We can provide food security for extended conflicts and contribute biological research for medical technologies. But we'll need guaranteed defense commitments from military settlements. You have them, Torres stated firmly. Human colonies stand together or fall separately. The final plan was audacious in scope. Forgotten technologies would be integrated across all major settlements within 6 days, creating a defensive network capable of repelling authority assault while maintaining the cooperative principles that had impressed ancient observers. Sarah felt history pivoting around their decisions. One more consideration. When we implement these technologies, we're choosing a path that leads away from potential authority reintegration. We'll be committing to permanent independence. Silence filled the communications channels as leaders considered this implication. Captain Williams was the first to respond. Captain Chun, 3 years ago the Authority expelled us because they feared human potential. Now they want to attack us because we've fulfilled that potential. I see no path back to dependent relationship with entities that view our success as threatening. Agreement came from settlements across neutral space. The exile that began as punishment would conclude as liberation. Then, we're decided, Sarah announced. The Human Colonial Alliance is formally established. Implementation of integrated defenses begins immediately. In 7 days, we'll show the galaxy what humans can accomplish when they're free to pursue their potential. Over the following week, neutral space became a hive of unprecedented activity. Human ships traveled between settlements carrying technologies, experts, and resources. The forgotten devices were reverse-engineered and adapted to human manufacturing capabilities. Defensive installations rose around every major colony. On the 6th day, Authority reconnaissance ships appeared at the edges of human territory, observing the massive construction effort with obvious alarm. Sarah watched from Haven Station as the final defensive platforms came online. Around every human settlement, energy shields powered by forgotten technology created barriers that could withstand anything in the Authority arsenal. Captain, incoming transmission from Authority High Command, Marcus announced. They're demanding explanation for our military preparations. Put them through. The screen showed High Admiral Zereth, Supreme Commander of Authority Forces. Behind her, Sarah could see the War Council that had apparently already decided human fate. Captain Chun, Authority Forces have observed illegal militarization of neutral territories. You will cease construction and submit to inspection or face the consequences. Sarah stood straight, feeling the weight of human destiny in her response. High Admiral, human settlements are exercising sovereign rights to defend territories we have legally colonized. We have committed no aggressive acts and threatened no authority interests. Your expansion threatens galactic stability, Zereth declared. Human colonies will submit to authority supervision or be forcibly reduced. Admiral, human colonies have provided beneficial technologies and humanitarian assistance throughout the galaxy. We have proven our commitment to peaceful coexistence. What you call threatening expansion, we call successful adaptation to challenges you place before us. Zeretha's expression hardened. You have 24 hours to begin dismantling defensive installations. After that, Authority forces will commence military operations. The transmission ended, leaving Sarah facing the moment that would define humanity's future. In 24 hours, the galaxy would learn whether humans deserve the independence they had carved from exile, or whether ancient civilizations have been correct to view them as dangerous newcomers requiring control. Sarah activated communications to all human settlements. This is Captain Chun. Tomorrow, we defend not just our colonies, but our right to exist as equals in this galaxy. The Authority expelled us to eliminate a threat. They're about to discover they created one. Around her, Haven Station hummed with the power of technologies that bridged human ingenuity and forgotten wisdom. Tomorrow would test whether that combination could forge a new type of civilization worth the attention of beings who had transcended the conflicts that still trapped younger species. The countdown had begun, but this time humans were ready.